The Grand Canyon is one of the most explored places on Earth. Millions of people stand on its edge every year, believing they've seen everything it has to offer. But according to the Hopi people, the greatest secret was never on the surface, it was hidden beneath it. For generations, stories were passed down about an ancient world, strange beings, and places no outsider was meant to find. Then, in 1909, an American newspaper published a shocking story, claiming that a massive underground city had been discovered deep inside the Grand Canyon, filled with mysterious tunnels, priceless artifacts, and statues unlike anything ever found in North America. The story spread across the world. Then, almost as suddenly, it disappeared. Was it a hoax, a forgotten archaeological discovery, or did someone make sure the truth stayed buried forever? Long before tourists, helicopters, and observation decks. Before the Grand Canyon became one of America's greatest landmarks, it was already sacred ground. For the Hopi people, this wasn't just a canyon carved by a river, it was a place where history, spirituality, and memory became one. Generation after generation, Hopi elders told stories that weren't written in books. They were spoken around fires, whispered inside stone villages, and passed from parents to children. One story spoke of a time when humanity lived beneath the earth, hidden from a world consumed by destruction. According to Hopi tradition, people emerged into the present world through a sacred opening known as the Sipapu, a place believed to connect the underground world with the surface. To outsiders, these stories sounded like mythology. But to the Hopi, they were part of their identity, part of their history. As American explorers pushed deeper into the Southwest during the 19th century, they encountered ancient cliff dwellings, mysterious petroglyphs, abandoned settlements, and sacred caves scattered throughout the canyon. Every discovery raised new questions. Who built these places? How did they survive in such an unforgiving landscape? And were there still places, hidden beyond steep cliffs and impossible rock walls, that no modern explorer had ever reached? The deeper scientists explored, the more they realized that the Grand Canyon still held countless secrets. But no one expected what would appear in a newspaper, on April 5, 1909, a story so extraordinary, that more than a century later, people are still arguing about whether it revealed the greatest archaeological discovery in American history, or one of its greatest mysteries. On April 5, 1909, readers across Arizona opened their morning newspaper expecting ordinary headlines. Instead, they found a story that sounded impossible. The Arizona Gazette claimed that deep inside the Grand Canyon, an explorer named G.E. Kincaid had discovered a massive underground complex, hidden behind sheer rock walls nearly impossible to reach. According to the article, the entrance was concealed halfway up a cliff, invisible to anyone standing above or below. Once inside, Kincaid reportedly entered a vast network of tunnels stretching for miles beneath the canyon. The newspaper described enormous chambers carved into solid rock, passageways branching in every direction, and hundreds of rooms filled with ancient artifacts. Weapons, pottery, copper tools, strange symbols, and even what appeared to be preserved human mummies. But one detail shocked readers more than anything else. Some of the statues, and carvings, were said to resemble ancient Egyptian gods. Figures similar to Osiris, and other symbols that seemed completely out of place. Thousands of miles away from Egypt. The article claimed that experts from the Smithsonian Institution had become involved, suggesting the discovery could completely rewrite the history of North America. If the story were true, it would mean an advanced civilization had existed beneath the Grand Canyon long before recorded history. Newspapers across the country repeated parts of the report. Curiosity exploded. People wanted to know where the cave was, when the excavation would begin, and what incredible discoveries would come next. But then, something strange happened. No official photographs were ever released. No scientific papers appeared. No confirmed excavation records surfaced. And the Smithsonian publicly denied having any record of such an expedition. The man at the center of the story, G. E. Kincaid, seemed to disappear from history almost as quickly as he had appeared, leaving behind only one newspaper article, and a mystery that refused to die. As weeks turned into months, excitement slowly gave way to confusion. Historians searched for official excavation records. Archaeologists looked for field reports. Researchers contacted the Smithsonian Institution, hoping to find documents proving the expedition had taken place. But the deeper they searched, the stranger the story became. No verified record of G. E. Kincaid working for the Smithsonian could be found. No official report described a lost underground city. No collection of Egyptian-style artifacts from the Grand Canyon appeared in museum archives. It was as if the discovery had vanished without leaving a trace. To many historians, the answer seemed obvious. They believed the Arizona Gazette story was nothing more than a newspaper sensation. In the early 1900s, dramatic adventure stories often attracted readers, and newspapers sometimes published extraordinary claims before they could be verified. According to this view, the Grand Canyon article was simply another example of sensational journalism. A fascinating story, but not a historical fact. Yet for others, the mystery didn't end there. They pointed out that the Grand Canyon is vast, stretching for hundreds of miles, with thousands of caves, hidden cliffs, and areas that remain difficult to access even today. Some locations are permanently closed to protect fragile archaeological sites and sacred places. Over time, this fact became fuel for countless theories. People began asking, were certain areas closed only for conservation, or because something unusual had been discovered there? No evidence has ever confirmed those suspicions. But the questions continued to spread across books, documentaries, and the internet. The Hopi traditions added another layer to the mystery. Their stories spoke of sacred underground places, but they never described them as Egyptian cities, or lost civilizations filled with treasures. Over the years, many writers mixed Hopi beliefs with the 1909 newspaper article, creating a single story that sounded convincing, even though the two came from very different sources. What began as a newspaper report, and an ancient oral tradition, slowly merged into one of America's most famous modern legends. So, if there was no verified evidence, why does this story continue to survive more than a century later? Perhaps, because the Grand Canyon still reminds us how little we truly know. Every year, archaeologists discover new traces of ancient people across the American Southwest. Hidden dwellings, forgotten artifacts, and sacred sites continue to emerge from the desert. And as long as unexplored places remain, so will the possibility, however small, that somewhere beneath those towering cliffs, another secret is still waiting to be found. As the mystery spread across America, another rumor began to grow. Visitors claimed that certain areas of the Grand Canyon were suddenly marked as off-limits. Maps showed regions where tourists could no longer enter. Helicopters avoided specific sections, and warning signs appeared near isolated cliffs. For some, the explanation was simple. The National Park Service was protecting fragile archaeological sites, dangerous terrain, and sacred places belonging to Native American tribes. But for conspiracy theorists, those restrictions meant something entirely different. They believed the government wasn't protecting history. They were hiding it. Soon, old maps were compared with modern satellite images. Amateur explorers searched every cliff, every cave, every shadow carved into the canyon walls. Online forums filled with stories of hidden entrances, blocked tunnels, and mysterious doors cut into solid rock. Some claimed they had seen unnatural openings high above the Colorado River. Others insisted they heard strange echoes coming from caves no one could reach. Yet every investigation ended the same way. There was never enough evidence to prove any extraordinary claim. Only photographs, speculation, and unanswered questions. Then came another mystery. Visitors noticed that several rock formations inside the Grand Canyon carried names connected to ancient civilizations. Isis Temple, Osiris Temple, Horus Temple, Tower of Ra. At first glance, it sounded unbelievable. Why would landmarks in Arizona be named after Egyptian gods? To many people, this seemed like proof that the 1909 newspaper story had been telling the truth all along. But historians offered a far simpler explanation. During the late 19th century, geologists often named rock formations after gods, myths, and legendary civilizations from around the world. The names reflected imagination, not archaeological evidence. Still, for believers, the coincidence only made the mystery even harder to ignore. Perhaps the most fascinating part of this story isn't the alleged underground city. It's the way legends evolve. A single newspaper article, ancient Hopi traditions, unusual place names, and restricted areas inside a national park slowly merged into one powerful narrative. A story repeated so many times, that millions of people now believe it must contain at least a grain of truth. But belief, and evidence, are not always the same. And that's exactly why the Grand Canyon mystery refuses to disappear. Today, more than a century after the Arizona Gazette published its extraordinary story, no verified evidence has ever confirmed the existence of a hidden underground Egyptian city beneath the Grand Canyon. Archaeologists continue to study the canyon, and while they have discovered ancient Native American sites, caves, and artifacts, nothing has matched the incredible claims made in 1909. The Smithsonian Institution has repeatedly stated that it has no record of such an expedition, leaving historians to believe the article was most likely a sensational newspaper story. But even if the newspaper was fictional, the mystery refuses to die. Because the Grand Canyon is still filled with places no ordinary visitor can reach. Its cliffs hide thousands of caves, many of which remain unexplored or protected because they contain fragile archaeological remains and sacred Native American sites. Every new discovery reminds us that history is never completely finished. There are still secrets waiting beneath the rocks, even if they are very different from the legends people imagine. Perhaps that's why the story continues to fascinate millions of people. Not because anyone has proved an underground civilization exists, but because the idea itself captures our imagination. A single newspaper article, Ancient Hopi Traditions. And one of the world's greatest natural wonders combined to create a mystery that has survived for more than 100 years. Whether you believe it was a forgotten discovery, or simply one of history's greatest hoaxes, one thing is certain. The Grand Canyon still holds secrets, and those secrets keep people coming back, hoping that one day, the truth will finally be uncovered. Some mysteries survive because they are never solved. Others survive because people refuse to stop asking questions. The story of the Grand Canyon's hidden city lies somewhere between those two worlds. There is no verified evidence that an ancient civilization, or Egyptian chamber, exists beneath the canyon. Yet the combination of Hopi traditions, the mysterious 1909 newspaper article, and the canyon's countless unexplored caves continues to inspire debate more than a century later. Perhaps the greatest secret isn't what's hidden beneath the Grand Canyon, but how easily legends become part of history. Until undeniable evidence is discovered, this story will remain exactly what it has always been, one of the world's most fascinating mysteries, balancing between fact, folklore, and imagination. So, what do you think? Was the Arizona Gazette revealing a forgotten discovery, or creating one of history's greatest hoaxes? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more forgotten mysteries, hidden histories, and stories the world almost lost. Because sometimes, the greatest secrets